All right, I think we are on. There's probably a little bit of a latency. All right, well, welcome everybody to the Angular Community Meetup watch party for the V18 release. We've got a premiere coming out here in about 15 minutes from the Angular team. As always, as part of the Angular Community Meetup, we're partnered with ng-conf. They're our primary sponsor, with which we're unable to do this without all their help. And as such, we are following their code of conduct. So we're going to post a link in the chat for the code of conduct for the Angular Community Meetup in ng-conf. We want this to be an open space and a safe space. So please abide by the code of conduct. We've never really had issues in the past, but if you feel like there's an issue, please let one of us know and we will take care of the problem. All right, so yeah, V18 is here. It was released yesterday afternoon for me. So what do you guys think? What are you looking forward to in this new feature, or the new release?
I'm super excited about control flow coming out of developer preview. Even though it's been pretty stable for a while, that's usually a limiting factor on whether people adopt the feature or not. So now it's out. It's fully released, if you will. So we'll be seeing more of that. Control flow, deferrable views, all of that goodness.
Yeah, definitely. And with that schematic to convert everything, it'll be nice to move a already large project over to it pretty quickly.
Yeah, and also they keep putting or making the bundles smaller and smaller. So that definitely will bring more optimization to our applications. And yeah, that's something exciting too. You're muted. No, still muted.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to messing around with zoneless and seeing how that works. It's going with signals. I was hoping signals would be fully out of dev preview, but I know they're still working on like the signal inputs and outputs and all that. But yeah, zoneless is going to be pretty cool to be able to drop that package and make everything smaller. Jay's looking forward to continued improvements in schematics, making updates much simpler. Yep, definitely. We've got about 12 minutes left until the premiere. So I'm curious. We've got about 46 viewers in here. Where's everybody joining from? Not sure how much delay there is between us speaking and it actually going out to YouTube. Maybe about 10 seconds or so. Manchester, nice. Maybe.
From India, northern BA, I'm not sure where that.
Should be Virginia.
Virginia.
And what about you, Eduardo? What are you excited about this new?
Going zoneless and pretty much everything. It's been like I was already getting into all the stuff that was released on version 16, and then boom, we got 17, and now we got 18. A few months ago, I was doing some talks about Angular Renaissance. And now we got version 18, and I have to update everything because of all the stuff that it's going to that just landed yesterday. So it's really amazing, and that the Angular team is actually listening to the community, and they have been like following with the request for comments and also tackling issues that were like long requests from community, and all the most thumbed up issues on GitHub, like the ng content default content for ng content. I forgot the name. The default content for containers or something like that. So being like knowing that the Angular team actually cares about the community means a lot.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely listen to the community. Like with the control flow, I wanted this felt like syntax. And as sad as I was to get the at syntax, that's what the majority of people wanted. So they took that into account, and that's what they used to go forward with the syntax. So.
Yeah, and now that they are adding, I hope that they release that with 18.1, the let syntax at where you can declare variables inside the template. For me, it's like they are Blazorifying. They are making Angular more like Blazor, but
Mhm.
that's not about. For in my opinion, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I saw somebody post an example yesterday using the let syntax where they had a for loop, like an ng-for, well, with the new for syntax, and then they needed to get some pretty complex things off these objects, and using let just made the code a lot more readable. So I think that's really the key there, is just making the code more readable. That's something that I've always loved about Angular. Was it's pretty readable. It's pretty easy to go into code and understand what it's doing.
And simplicity too.
Mhm.
There's a lot to take into account when introducing a new feature, and they always do it in a non-breaking way, right? They think about the feature, what the implications are, they introduce it, they make it absolutely non-breaking for everybody, and if it's something that's hard to migrate to, they just provide a schematic so that you can automatically get the benefits. So everybody wins.
Yeah, like here's the new control flow, and don't worry, we got this schematic to update all like 99% of your code to the new syntax. So just
Yeah,
one
but
5 seconds. Yeah.
yeah, but also that's why you don't upgrade at the first release of the new version. That's why you wait like for the point one or point two just to be sure nothing is gonna
My my
break on the
my,
integration.
my OCD doesn't allow me to
Uh,
wait
yeah.
longer than 5 minutes after release.
But also if you have like bamboo pipelines or any pipeline like in your company, you have to make sure like everything compiles and it's up to date with the new version. It's a bit work for when you upgrade your applications. It's not just that app, it's everything that surrounds the deployment.
Yeah. George Blackos has a good question. How do you find if an Angular feature is in developer preview or not? In the Angular documentation, when you search, for example, on version 15, I think it was like that. In the documentation, you could see that Signals was on preview or developer preview. So if you search for something on the official Angular documentation, angular.dev, you can see if it's stable or in community on developer preview.
Yeah, they have put a lot of work in this Angular.dev portal, so which is now become official for the developers to go and find out everything
Yeah.
that the Angular framework offers.
And now, since yesterday, Angular.dev is the new official home for Angular documentation instead of Angular.io.
Hmm.
Yeah, even if you go to update.angular.io, it now redirects you to a page on angular.dev that has the same, you select your versions and everything, gives you the step-by-step update. It's pretty cool. Let's see. Jay's talking about being interested in starting work on Material 3, which is now stable. Deferrable views is going to solve many workarounds. Yeah. I think deferrable views is a huge feature.
And being able to just add it to the code and don't worry about how everything is loaded. I know that this is a kind of like a magic box approach, but it's really amazing that you don't have to worry about many details of how to implement that.
And when it comes to deferrable views, they're even adding all of the latest bits to them seamlessly. Like, for example, when we get partial hydration, or when we get all the benefits of JS action coming to Angular, that's all going to be handled by deferrable views. So a great thing is going to continue to get better.
I'm going to poke around through the V18 blog, see if there's anything else. Yeah, they do have a lot of improvements in server-side rendering. I still haven't messed with SSR. Have you guys done that at all?
Not really. For me, like, I don't know. I have encountered thoughts in terms of like, if you want to use SSR with an Angular application, why don't you better use, I don't know, .NET Core for that? I guess I haven't really found the use case for using SSR. I don't know if Eduardo or Rafael have.
I've been using a little bit of SSR with Analog.js. Huge shout out to Brandon Roberts, who is keeping this project, this meta framework alive and updated. And it's really amazing the way that now Angular, instead of having the full refresh, you just get the page loaded and a small minor refreshes on the DOM. So it's really amazing. And having to just provide client hydration to the bootstrap method, it's amazing. The only minor issue that I had was that it currently doesn't work with custom elements or web elements. So, for example, using Ionic framework doesn't allow you to use client hydration. But I think that they will work on stuff like that, because I think it will provide a better for frameworks like that use custom web elements. It will allow to have the client hydration.
Yeah, now it looks like in V18, material and CDK, all components and primitives are fully hydration compatible. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, there is actually a section of the roadmap on angular.dev that specifies which of the most recent features are production ready or still experimental or in dev preview.
Oh, that's good to know.
At this point, it's like mostly comes down to zoneless and SSR, basically. Almost everything else is ready to use.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with forms in the future. With like reactive forms, if they're gonna make the switch to have like a signal-based forms where things will be computed properties, computed value changes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things with surrounding forms that make a migration complicated. Because now there's signals. There's also a movement toward more functional APIs and making things more tree shakeable. So I'm not saying I see forms as having a major overhaul, but I think forms are getting a pretty big overhaul.
It looks like the premiere is about to start, so I'm going to switch over to there. And I'll make this full screen as soon as it starts and I'm able to click the button.
Hey everyone, Mark here from the Angular team. I'm overjoyed to share that Angular V18 is here and it's going to improve the developer experience for teams of all sizes. We're here at Google's Bayview campus in Mountain View, California, and we have so many fantastic updates to share that you definitely want to stick around because things are about to get awesome. With each release, we aim to improve Angular to better serve the developer community, as well as find ways to move the web forward. We've launched features like template-level lazy loading with the new defer syntax, more ergonomic control flow, improved reactivities with Angular signals, support for server-side rendering and hydration, and so many more improvements. Our goal has been and will continue to be building a framework that empowers developers to build robust web apps that scale. Now today, we'll be sharing details about what we've launched in V18 and how we're thinking about the future of Angular. Speaking of future, developers have been asking for updates on optional zones in Angular, but don't zone out just yet. We know you want updates, so here's one of our team leads, Alex Rickabaugh, with the latest on optional zones in Angular. Alex, over to you.
The team has been hard at work on several long-term investments in both the performance and developer experience of Angular. One of the most vital projects has been our redesign of Angular's reactivity system. One of the primary goals, and one of the most ambitious, is to make Zone.js optional for Angular applications. I'm Alex, the technical lead for the Angular framework at Google, and I'm excited to share with you some insight into our progress and the work that remains. Let's start by talking a little bit about the goals. Why do we think zoneless Angular is worth building, and what's the future of Zone.js? On Angular, backwards compatibility is one of our main values. There are millions of Angular applications which are built with zones, including thousands at Google alone, and we're committed to supporting this way of using Angular for the foreseeable future. At the same time, experience has shown us that as applications scale, the hands-off approach to reactivity used by Zone.js starts to show some weaknesses. It becomes more challenging to maintain and safeguard performance or to debug reactivity. And as new web APIs are added, the cost of loading and initializing zones is growing. Given these challenges, we decided to invest in a new reactivity system that will scale to meet the developer experience and performance needs of the next 10 years of Angular applications. Changing a core part of the framework like this is a long-term project, with features and fixes landing in different releases along the way. Let's talk about some of the work we've done already. Last year in V16, we introduced Angular developers to our 3 new reactive primitives: signal, computed, and effect. These APIs are at the heart of our new reactivity model. With them, developers can have confidence that Angular will understand changes made to their application state and update the UI correctly and efficiently. In V17, signal and computed became stable APIs. Angular is ready for signals. In addition to the core primitives, we've been working closely with the teams behind the community state management libraries that you know and love, like NGRX, NGXS, RxAngular, and several others. We've been working together to ensure the Signal APIs support their use cases, and integrations like NGRX's Signal Store exemplify the fruits of this collaboration. These APIs give us a strong foundation on which to build a new reactivity model for Angular that doesn't require zones. When you communicate state changes to Angular, for example by setting a signal that's used in a template, the framework will schedule change detection automatically without the need for Zone.js. But what about existing applications, some of which can have thousands of components which are not yet using signals? We want to make sure it's possible for these applications to switch to zoneless without needing to migrate everything to signals. And of course, we want the rich ecosystem of Angular libraries to be zoneless compatible without major changes as well. For the past 6 months, we've been working towards this goal, building out a new mode for change detection that balances correctness, performance, developer experience, and backwards compatibility. Getting this right takes time, and we've been working with different applications at Google to experiment and test these ideas, some of which are already running in production. In V18, we expect to release 2 major pieces of this puzzle. One piece is what we've been calling hybrid change detection, which we'll be enabling by default for all V18 applications. In this mode, even if Zone.js doesn't patch an API, or if changes are made outside of the Angular zone, Angular will still listen to signals and other notifications about changes and schedule change detection. Hybrid change detection will allow developers, especially library authors, to write code that works regardless of whether Zone.js is used or not. And secondly, in V18, we'll have an experimental API to disable Zone.js integration entirely and run applications fully in zoneless mode. This API will be experimental as not all parts of Angular work smoothly with zoneless today. We're still in the process of updating libraries like forms and material, for example. Releasing this API early will allow us to collect your feedback and gather even more data on which patterns are working with zoneless and where we might need to focus more effort. Beyond V18, we have even more exciting projects in the pipeline. We'll be working towards a full developer preview of zoneless, including compatibility with Angular's own packages as well as popular libraries in the ecosystem. We're also not finished integrating signals with the core framework. Forms and router, for example, will be updated to expose state as signals where it makes sense. And finally, signal components will unlock the full developer experience and performance benefits of signals. Through our work on signals, zoneless, and across our other projects, we are committed to the stability and reliability of Angular as a foundation for your applications, while we work to prepare the framework for the next 10 years of web development.
I bet you all are in the zone after that last update. Thanks, Alex. Okay, you know what else is important? Hydration. And here to tell you more about hydration in Angular and the latest on the Angular server-side story is Alon from the team. Go check that out. I have some lights to light up. Okay, let's go. So many lights, all the way to the top, by myself. It's just me.
I am Alan from the Angular team, and I'm here to let you know what we've been working on with server-side rendering and hydration in Angular. Let's get started. Angular continues to innovate for its users by bringing modern, exciting updates to SSR in the framework. Today is no exception. In Angular version 18, we are launching some great new features. The first is enhanced DevTools support for hydration in Angular. Now, developers can visualize hydration information using Angular DevTools in the browser. With the Show Hydration Overlays button, you can clearly see which components are hydrated, which were skipped, and which encountered an error. The Components panel also shows a breakdown of what went wrong. It includes hydration errors to more easily identify how to fix them. We think you'll really enjoy this new feature. We are also happy to announce hydration support for all Angular material components. You can now take advantage of performance benefits of hydration in your applications that use Angular material components. These components will no longer be skipped during hydration. We have an update on a much requested feature. In version 18, we are adding hydration support for I18M blocks. This feature is in developer preview. Before I tell you more about what's coming in the future, there's one more feature I want to announce. Before an application is hydrated, users may interact with UI controls, and as a developer, you don't want to lose those events. Well, as part of our ongoing collaboration with the Wiz team at Google, we are announcing Event Replay, powered by JS Section. Events will be captured and replayed at the right time once the application is hydrated. Event Replay is now available in developer preview. Here's a glance at what we are working on next. We are working on providing out-of-the-box support for selecting a rendering mode for a given route. This means providing an easy hook for choosing which routes are rendered client-side, server-side, or at build time. We are also working on improving the SSG experience for parameterized routes. Alright, that's it for me, but there's so much more to learn about in the latest release of Angular. So check out the Angular YouTube channel for more on what's in store. Now go NG update.
Thanks for those updates, Alon. The Angular server-side story just continues to evolve, and you, the developer community, continue to receive the benefits. Now, would you like to know more about Angular Material 3? I bet you would. So, Miles, why don't you let the people know what we've been working on?
The moment you've been waiting for is here. Angular now has support for Material 3. My name is Miles, and I'm an engineer on the Angular team. Let's learn more about the latest changes for Angular Material. In Angular version 18, we're making the recently added Material 3 theming APIs stable. These APIs allow you to use the same components you know and love with an updated visual style based on Material Design 3. Here are some of the new features that are available with our M3 themes. Simplified theme styles based entirely on CSS variables that don't add selector specificity. More granular theme customizations based on CSS variables. And a more flexible API for applying color variants to components. To use Material 3 in your app, create an M3 theme in Sass using mat.define theme, or generate a theme using ng-generate. Then pass the new theme to the same Angular Material Sass mixins you're already using to apply your M2 theme. Along with the great features I've already talked about, we also offer Sass APIs to read colors, typography, and other properties from the M3 theme so that you can write your own custom components that work with M3 themes. While we're excited to provide this new option for theming your components, we also want to emphasize that our M2 themes will continue to be available alongside our M3 themes. We hope that these changes open up more possibilities for you to customize Angular Material components to meet your needs. For those who need even more flexibility, we're looking forward to extracting more of the Angular Material behavior into fully customizable CDK components in the near future. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Our Material 3 support will only continue to grow, enabling you and your teams to build fantastic UIs for your applications to best serve your users. The Angular V18 release is filled with so many features that we will be here all day if we tried to cover them all. But instead, let's head over to our very own Emma Tversky for a quick roundup of more new features that you can get started using today.
Angular V18 is here. And besides the big updates, there are a lot of great little features, bug fixes, and incremental improvements to help you and your teams build the next generation of web apps. Emma here from the Angular team, and I'm going to tell you about the great features launched in this release. Let's do this. Angular V18 is shipping with new APIs to further improve the developer experience in the framework. First up are our new signal-based APIs. In V17, we introduced Angular Signals, a system that granularly tracks how and where your state is used throughout an application, allowing the framework to optimize rendering updates. Now, we're on a path to fully signal-based components, and this release contains some of the building blocks developers will need to make that happen. First, we're introducing signal inputs. Signal inputs allow values to be bound from a parent component. Those values are exposed using a signal and can change during the lifecycle of your component. To help developers have a better time keeping data in sync with two-way binding, there's the new Model Input API. Model inputs are a special type of input that enable a component to propagate new values back to another component. When creating a component, you can define a model input similarly to how you create a standard input. Both types of inputs allow someone to bind a value into the property. However, model inputs allow the component author to write values into the property. In other respects, you can use model inputs the same way you use standard inputs. We know that developers have long wanted a type-safe, reactive way to interact with content children and view children in templates. We heard you loud and clear, and that's why we've built the new Signal Query APIs. The new approach exposes query results as signals, which mean that query results can be composed with other signals using computed or effect, and drive change detection. Additionally, the signal-based query system offers other benefits, like more predictable timing, simpler API surface, improved type safety, more accurate type inference, and lazier updates. The underlying query mechanism doesn't change much. Conceptually, Angular still creates singular child or plural children queries that target elements in a template or content. The difference is in the type of result and the exact timing of the result availability. These features bring V18 closer to our goal of signal-based components, but we're not stopping there. As Alex shared, V18 includes an experimental preview of zoneless Angular. He did a great job sharing how we're thinking about the future developer experience of zoneless Angular, and why our eventual goal is to make Zone.js fully optional. But we know that you want to see some code. V18 includes some incremental improvements that allow you to explore removing zones in your code starting today. Zones event coalescing is on by default in V18, and zone coalescing uses the same scheduler as zoneless. Angular with Zone.js can be configured to schedule change detection even when the changes happen outside the Angular zone. This takes advantage of the zoneless scheduler in existing Zone.js apps. And Angular material components and the CDK are zoneless compatible. Zoneless is available as experimental in V18. To learn more about experimental zoneless support, head to our guides on angular.dev. But that's not it. Here are some quick hits that are sure to make developing in Angular better. Developers can enjoy the latest features of TypeScript 5.4 in your applications. Update now for preserved narrowing in closures following last assignments, the no-infer utility type, and a lot more. You can learn more about what these all mean in Microsoft's blog post announcing TypeScript 5.4. Also new, developers can now provide a default value for ng-content. This allows you to have a placeholder for empty lists and other components with no current content. And what's that? We've closed our #1 most upvoted feature request on GitHub. Angular Forms introduced a new global observable you can subscribe to track changes around any abstract control and its children. You can now track all kinds of events like touched, dirty, etc., in addition to value and status, all through a single observable. You know what's even cooler? Most of these featurettes actually happened in a minor release leading up to today. That means you don't have to wait 6 months for the next enhancement to your Signal APIs, another step towards zoneless, or one of your top voted issues being resolved. We've been talking a lot about the future of Angular, and you can find out more about what we've been working on by heading over to our public roadmap at angular.dev/roadmap. Be sure to ng-update and check out our full changelog on GitHub for each and every feature, fix, and enhancement in V18.
Emma, thanks for those updates. I think the Angular community has a lot of new features they get to try out. Angular continues to be a fantastic tool for building web applications at scale with confidence. With all of the new features announced in Angular V18, developers have all the tools they need to build the next great web application.
Oh, I think I got it. I got it. I mean, of course I got it. Of course I got it. Jessica here, assuming direct control over this stream to tell you about 2 more quick things. Number 1, all those puns from Mark in the script, they were me all along. Sorry. And number 2, I have 1 more feature to tell you about. With all the success of hydration, we thought maybe we could take things partially a bit further. That's right, we're working on partial hydration support in Angular. The goal of this is to allow you to very quickly, easily, intuitively, and declaratively specify portions of your application that you'd like to leave dehydrated, just like we did with deferrable views. And the best part about all this is we're going to be releasing it as part of, oh crap, I'm losing the connection.
She is always doing stuff. It's my show. All right, friends, whatever you just heard, ignore all of that. But hey, thanks so much for coming to our special Angular event. We hope you enjoyed yourself, but hey, let us know what you think. Be sure to ng-update, and as always, go build great apps. We'll see you the next time. Wait, you all are still here? Gotta get out of here. I gotta go home. Bye. Get out of here. Bye. Thanks for coming. Bye.
So, a really amazing sneak peek of what's coming. Oh,
Yeah, there's a little bit more. Yeah, I switched the stream over to the Google Meet and had to flip back at a post-credit scene. Yeah, so lots of good stuff. I'm glad to see Material 3 having more APIs as well. As someone who's been working on trying to theme Material 2, it's not been easy. So looking forward to try those out.
Yeah, I think there's still some confusion around the Signals APIs. But yes, at this point, all the Signal APIs are out of dev preview. Is that right?
no, I think that the model input and the view query, the queries are still on developer preview
Okay.
in the model one.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that they will release a stable on 18.1. Like they mentioned, they don't wait 6 months for releasing or marking something as stable.
Yeah, because I think like the inputs came like in 17.1 or 17.2, and the model came in 17.3. They were been releasing things in these minor versions pretty quickly.
Yep. And I wonder if the partial hydration will be like some concept that are in other frameworks called islands. So just hydrate the specific parts of the application and leave the other just like a non-working version until some hover or click interaction with from the user.
Just like a non-working version until some.
You get some feedback. No.
Yeah, sorry, it was me.
No worries. Awesome. Yeah, and yeah, like you were saying, Eduardo, like all these experimental features that are really not breaking anything. Like everything's still backwards compatible. You can try them out and not have to worry about like, oh, they've released zoneless and now forms don't work at all, even though we're not using zoneless.
One of the other things that was exciting for me, yeah, is this model inputs that now is more easy to build two-way data binding custom properties into your components. Previously, you have to declare like your input, like name selection, and the output selection change, and then work with those two variables. Now it's made easier to developers.
Yeah.
One thing that sorry, go on, Chris.
I was just gonna say that, and since they're signals, you can easily use computed or effect on them as well. Which, I know there's been some graphs going around saying like, use RxJS for asynchronous things and signals for state. And I think that this is a great point for this, where you can do these computed things where before we were doing, sometimes pretty complex RxJS that is now simplified.
There's also a lot of instances of. Oh, sorry, Eduardo, you were gonna say something.
No. Go on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that there's a lot of instances where we end up doing things like creating a subject to get around change detection in a component, and signal inputs and signals in general just make that so easy now.
Yeah, this is at least for me, this is a goodbye for subjects.
Yeah, and what I was saying was that I think that they've left like talking about what is going to happen with RxJS on the framework if they are moving everything to signals. I know that they are trying to have to use RxJS as minimal as possible, but I'm not sure. I think that maybe some comment about that or what is going to happen with RxJS, because it seems like they are leaving it behind or trying developers or new developers to avoid using RxJS, even though that it still has a lot of use cases.
Yeah, I know there's been talks about making like a ng-new where you can say I want it without RxJS, but we still have reactive forms, and HTTP client is still RxJS. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be a while before that actually, if it ever happens completely, that it'll be a while. I did see something from George saying he was curious about what Material 3 is going to look like. If you actually go to the Angular Material website, it's currently using the third Material 3 version. So it looks a bit different if you want to check it out. All right, is there any other topics you guys want to discuss on V18? Anybody in chat that had anything they wanted to bring up?
When is Angular 19 going to be released?
Not this year, please. I haven't even upgraded mine to 16.
In approximately 6 months.
Yeah, in November.
Yeah, so you can switch to it right before you go on holiday breaks and break production.
Break everything, right?
There are a couple other low-key changes that made it into V18. Like, for example, there's a new internationalization API. So the current utilities are deprecated. Things like to get the date format or locale, they suggest that you use the INTL APIs that are now browser native. I'm on board with delegating as much work as we can to the native APIs, so that the frameworks can focus on bringing new features.
I mean, we might get native observables at some point, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and native signals too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very interesting times, and Angular, especially the last few releases, has just been rolling out so many great new things. Yeah, control flow, I'm a big fan of it. I really want to get to using that in a production app. But yeah, it's just amazing what they're doing, and I'm curious to see what Angular 22 will have, right? Like where we'll be in a couple more years.
Yeah, and it's really amazing that they are not thinking about the next release, but 10 years in the future. So how can we build something that will last for 10 years? Because I remember I was with all the jQuery frameworks bubble on, I think it was 2009, and there were so many frameworks that were released like every single week, and you were like, do I work with this framework? Do I change to this other? And now even though that we still have like 5 or 6 frameworks, they come to be really stable, and they are like releasing new features, and having the Google team to be so focused on this vision, this future vision of the framework still being used in 10 years makes you feel safe that you are working. If you require a framework for production ready or production builds or something that it's going to be critical, you can be safe that they are going to be 10 years of support and new stuff and making Angular more amazing than it currently is.
Yeah, and Angular currently supports over 1,000 apps at Google. So if the Angular team breaks something, they're going to know about it very quickly. So yeah, it's very safe upgrades and everything. Michael asked a question: signals, observables, stores, how to deal with stored values. Yeah, I think if you're using signals, you can use a signal in a service like you would normally do, like a subject in a service. If you're already using something like NGRX, Signal Store, I believe, is also coming out of Dev Preview for version 18. So take a look at that.
Daryl is asking about, regarding your comment, I think that Signal Story is out of preview right now, but I might be mistaken. But I've been using Signal Store for a while, and it's really amazing how you can just declaratively create a store, and how can you customize and extend that. So it's a really great addition, and it's really I remember that the times of the NGRX, like all the boilerplate that you had to create just to have the actions effects and everything, and the reducer And now with Signal Store, everything can be in just one file for any store that you need. So it's a really great and huge addition to Signals. And Daryl was asking if did anyone talk about zoneless change detection. Yeah, they are creating a new zoneless change detection manager or scheduler, so you can avoid using the one from Zone.js.
Yeah, but it's completely experimental, so I'm sure there will be some edge cases where it doesn't work or there's some bugs, but it's available if you want to play with it and try it out. All right, well, I think this was a good watch party. Hopefully we can do this again for future releases, and ng-conf will have us on their channel again. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. So if you missed anything, this should be on YouTube and able to rewind and everything right away. If you want to learn more, Angular Community Meetup, we meet twice a month, once in Spanish on the second Tuesday of the month, and again in English on the fourth Tuesday of the month. So check us out, follow us, join, come chat with us a couple times a month. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Eduardo, Gio, Rafa. It's great having you. As always.
Oh, thank you.
All right, everybody, enjoy V18.
Bye. And remember,
don't break production, please.